Okie doke. Time to get down to business. In less than 30 minutes from now, the Trump administration's top trade official will testify before the Senate Finance Committee. It comes as the president is set to impose 50% tariffs on Canada. And now with his temporary 10% tariff on almost all U.S. imports is set to expire this Friday, the administration is warning there are a whole lot more on the way.
We expect to see some action soon. I can't really specify a timeline right now. I have a responsibility to brief Congress and other stakeholders before I really reveal that kind of thing. But we do expect action soon.
And I've got one question. Why? Joining me now, Justin Wolfers, professor of economics and public policy at the University of Michigan, and Brendan Greeley, contributing editor for the Financial Times and author of the new book, The Almighty Dollar, 500 Years of the World's Most Powerful Money. If there's an economist in your life, pick up this book. Okay, Brendan, we got it. Clearly, the president wants tariffs. He loves tariffs. Yeah. I speak to tons of CEOs who tell me he's never going to get rid of them. There's nothing he loves more than being the kingmaker, having business leaders, having country leaders come in and say, please, sir, may I have a break? However, viewers for the last... If the Supreme Court struck down the tariffs, on what planet can this president reinstate them?
Challenge is the Constitution gives the right to negotiate trade policy to Congress. Unfortunately, Trade Act after Trade Act after Trade Act for the last 50 years, Congress has given the president, the White House, some power to do things on its behalf. And so right now, the U.S. Trade Representative, Jamieson Greer, is an experienced lawyer from Skadden Arps, a storied firm in D.C. And he understands trade law, it seems like, better than absolutely anyone. And so
loopholes.
There are loopholes.
Answers.
Yes, there are loopholes. And so there's a new loophole. What the Supreme Court struck down was a previous loophole having to do with national security. And the one that we're looking at now is a different loophole. And the U.S. is claiming that countries all over the world are using forced labor. That's an unfair practice. And so that allows the president to impose these tariffs. But I absolutely agree with you. This is not part of any kind of coherent economic plan. This is about dominance. The president likes to impose tariffs because it's something that he, big manly man, can do, and then everybody has to beg him for some sort of a reprieve. He has put himself at the center of attention once again. That's the purpose of these tariffs. They're not policy.
But do you know what the manliest of manly men really like to do?
I'm waiting.
Tell the truth. Justin, the president said the reason for these tariffs is to bring manufacturing back to the United States. This is more than a year after he announced Liberation Day. Manufacturing is down in this country. Who's believing this?
Look, first of all, Steph, I've got to pick you up on something here. The manliest of manly men, they like to hug.
You know what? That's true. Important. That is true.
But actually,
I'm going to tell you
economics...
something. They like to do more than that. But I digress.
Oh, Steph, stop boasting.
Okay, you know what? You two were asking. But I realize that the show is now 9 a.m. But I know. Okay, focus. Okay. Tariffs,
Steph, I am focused. I'm laser focused because the point here that manly men like to hug is actually a very important labour market point. The president has an understanding of masculinity, of society, and the American economy from the 1950s. In the 1950s, Dad packed a briefcase, went to work, sexually harassed a secretary when he was there, may or may not work in manufacturing. The jobs of the future are not in manufacturing. The jobs of the future are, in fact, in caring occupations. Our economy has changed. When our economy's changed, our economic policy has to change. President Trump's trying to bring back the lunch pail jobs of the 1950s. He's got glorious memories of those days, I guess. I actually quite like the present. I like the fact that I can work from home. I like the fact that work doesn't leave people feeling injured and in pain. There's so much to like about a modern economy, but a modern economy requires modern jobs. All of the jobs, for all the work the president has done to bring back manufacturing jobs, more than all the jobs that have been created under his watch have been in healthcare and social assistance. And it's time for him to stop talking about steel-toed boots and talk about the future of the real economy, which is real men hug, real men care, and real men are capable of something other than manufacturing.
Well, real men and women like to be healthy and thriving. The president threatened 100% tariffs on generic drugs starting August of 2028. That is a long way away. But he said it's to force companies to manufacture those drugs in the United States. We're obviously talking, Brennan, about the affordability squeeze. What would that do?
it's impossible to know how reshoring works under this president because it's so wildly inconsistent. He says he wants to reshore, but there are a lot of things that drive the kind of innovation that goes into a big pharmaceutical sector. One of them is education. The White House just said you can only get a visa to study in America for 4 years. That means you cannot come here to do a PhD. I'm getting a PhD right now. I'm surrounded by brilliant people from all over the world. They want to cut that short. That is a huge engine of American innovation. It happens in biotech. It happens in pharmaceuticals. It happens in tech. What happens is people come from all over the world and they innovate here. We're cutting that off while saying we're going to force foreigners to come back here. We haven't seen the evidence of reshoring. It's not just that manufacturing jobs aren't rising when you look at the numbers. I looked at the data, this morning, and manufacturing itself is going up in exactly one sector. It's computer equipment. It's the peripherals that are all going into building AI centers. Everything else is either flat or declining. So whatever the president's policy is, you cannot force remanufacturing the lunch pail jobs that Justin is talking about with tariffs. All they do is make Donald Trump feel good.
For the moment. It's not flat. Gas prices. That is something people are watching because they have to fill their tanks every day. Of course, they're back to more than $4 a gallon. Now, Justin, an Iranian-backed rebel group, the Houthis, are threatening to block another shipping channel. What is that going to do to oil prices?
Well, we've seen this play, and we know actually how it plays out pretty well. The world, here's the backstory. The world's a complicated place. No one made the globe to be a whole bunch of perfect squares that make it easy to trade. There are various choke points throughout it. The Strait of Hormuz is another. The Houthis have figured out there's another one, and they may have leverage. So this Iran war, it's put on the table. Previously, we thought the seas were free, everyone could ship through it, and that's how we would create trade and all of us be able to get the energy that we need. This war, it's put back on the table. In fact, you can take over these choke points. We're really cranky that the Iranians did it. Do you know the second person who wanted to do this? It was President Trump. President Trump at some point said he was going to take over the Strait of Hormuz. He thought that the laws surrounding this are up for grabs, and it's the law of might rather than the law of right. And not surprisingly, when that's the how you set things up, that other countries and other groups are following the same thing. So what's going to happen? Less oil gets through, gas prices go up. It's not just going to be an oil and gas story. That's the easy one to sell. But you've just splintered the world. You make economic life harder. Things get more expensive, and we end up producing less.
And yet, despite all of that, Brendan Greeley, the market's up.
Yeah, well, they don't really care about what's going on in the Middle East, and they haven't for a very long time. How Trump does in these negotiations, how things work out with Iran, it's been clear for a long time that to markets that's irrelevant, because what's going on is America has big, robust capital markets, and we have growth right now in the AI sector, and that's going to pay off for somebody at some point pretty soon.
All right, then. Brendan Greeley, thank you. Justin Wolfers, thank you so much.